Hi everybody, Tuxedo Mask here, Darien here, and today I'm going to talk about Toon Maker's Moon. Some call it Siobhan Moon, but that's the wrong name for it. Now, Toon Maker's Moon refers to a Sailor Moon Power Rangers hybrid made by Toon Makers in 1994 AD. Now, recently, this is being discovered by people. And if you go on YouTube, you will find very sundarious moving shows talking about this one. The history of Toon Maker's Moon goes back to 1994 AD with a bidding war between Zeke Entertainment for Sailor Moon. Now, the difference was, first off, both companies were bidding. Deke were both involved in the bid war for the first two seasons of Sailor Moon Classic and Romance, and the free moving shows. Now, Deke stayed more loyal to the source material, and some people will then argue about characters' names changed, or attacker location names being changed, or certain episodes being edited, or stuff like that. Now, regardless of all that, Deke stayed more loyal to the source material than Toon Makers did. Toon Makers got so far away from that. Okay? Now, how did Toon Makers get far away from it? Number one, they took liberties, but the liberties they weren't not allowed to take. For example, there were flying ships, yes. And Toon Maker's Sailor Moon, they had ships, okay, because they were sailors, so they had to give them ships. Something that was never in any form of Sailor Moon. So if you're going to talk about Deke and its take on Sailor Moon, remember, you never saw ships in any of those in that version either. And also a hybrid between live action and animation. So yeah, in the opening with the theme song, there was a mixture between hybrid live action and animation going on. And between those two things, Toon Makers got disqualified. Now, a lot of people are going to say that Toon Makers wasn't following the rules and they got disqualified, and that's how Deke ended up winning the first two seasons. Now, some people are going to argue that neither company did any good job with it. Now, that's everybody's entitled to their win, but at least Deke was more loyal to it and stayed closer to the source material than Toon Makers did. Now, a lot of people have also wondered, was I in it? According to the opening, I was not in it, but there have been pictures that had showed up on Google Image, Yahoo Image, and even Bing Image of what I would have looked like. And it was almost like, I don't know, if you remember Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid, then basically that's what I looked like. But I was in it. Luna was also in it too, but she's a white cat. Now, depending to which version of Sailor Moon that you saw. If you saw the anime, she was a blue cat. She was a black cat. If you saw the live action or read the manga, then chances are she was a blue cat. So it depended on what version of Sailor Moon that you watched, because apparently on anime she was a blue cat. In the live action she was a blue cat as well. But she's supposed to be a black cat, but somehow she's a blue cat. So there's always going to be a variation in her color. But Toon Makers decided to make her white for some reason. The color that she was never, regardless of what version of Sailor Moon you happen to have seen, she never ever was white, though. Most to my knowledge, she was always blue in the anime and the live action. Probably in the stage in the stage the song shows too. Now, Queen Beryl was also in this version, this version, but she was different from what she would look like from her D counterpart, even her Toei counterpart, maybe even her Viz counterpart. But she looked completely different. She was animated differently, but she was in it. Now, Toon Maker's Sailor Moon never actually got off the ground because it was disqualified for not staying loyal to source material. But in 2004 AD, Toon Makers released the opening to a group of people at an animation convention, I believe. And there were a lot of mixed emotions to these people. Some actually laughed at it, others really didn't know what to think of it. But it was an interesting take on Sailor Moon. Now, people who complain about the Deke and the Pioneer version and then praise the Viz version would have realized that if the Toon Makers version would have been a Sundarius version of Sailor Moon, you would have gotten. Imagine the complaints. People complain about how Deke and Pioneer handled it. But if they would have actually, if the Toon Maker Sailor Moon would have came into being, then chances are that would have been the one they would have complained about. And the reason that a lot of people, call it Siobhan Moon is because they actually thought that Siobhan Entertainment was behind the show. The only thing that Siobhan ever did with the show was make the theme song, and that was about it. But tell me what you think about Toon Maker's Sailor Moon, or Toon Maker's Moon as I would call it. And what do you think? Do you think it would have been cool to see that version of Sailor Moon? A complete different take on Sailor Moon? Or would you have been happy with the Deacon Pioneer versions of Sailor Moon? So which one would you have been happy with? Actually, I would have liked to see both for Sundarius versions of it. I would have liked to see the Deke and the Pioneer and then compared it to the Toon Makers one. But that will never be. But before I end this moving show, there is a parody out there called Crack Kids Show Player Voice Acting. Show player, a crack boy show playing. And they do a spoof off of how the first episode would have been done. So go check that out. Anyway, that's it. I'm Tuxedo Mask Darien. I'll see you later.